Troy from ZA Comics here, and I have another question I get asked a lot in the store, so I figured I would cover it here in a video. People ask about the pressing and cleaning service, restoration, conservation. Well, there's a big difference between all of those. You can get it pressed, or you can have it restored. You can have restoration removed. You can even get what they call conservation. Some of these will affect your CGC grade, and some of them won't. So let me get into it. First things first, they have a screening process. You can submit your books that are already CGC graded or non-CGC graded, either one, and they will screen it to see if it's going to improve the grade or if it's even going to be worth it for you to go through the pressing, cleaning, restoration service. If they deem that it's not, they charge, I believe, a 1% fee, and they'll send it back to you. If it's a non-CGC, of course, they send it in however you sent it. If it's already CGC'd and they can tell through the casing it's not going to be worth it for you to do that, they can send it back inside that casing. Pressing. Pressing is when they can fix some minor defects that are not collar breaking, don't cut through the page, not a tear. But if there's a bend or the page is wavy, those type of things, they can press them to where they're flat, and it does help with the grade and it makes it look a lot better. If they find apparent restoration has been taken on this book, that does reflect on the CGC grade. It'll be reflected on the label. A lot of people don't want that on their label. It's less desirable to see that it's been restored, especially if it's not been restored by a professional. There are ways to do it to make it much better than somebody just trying to put a piece of tape on it. So one of the things they screen for is restoration. If it's been done, they can actually remove some of that restoration to take that restoration grade off of your label. Restoration is a process where they fix actual material defects on your comic. If there's a rip, a tear, chunks missing out of the page, you'll get, if you get it fixed, you'll get a restoration label, which is a purple CGC label. Even if it's a signature series, it'll be, your yellow gold, the yellow label, but it'll have a small purple restoration label up above it showing that it has been restored. Now for restoration, you have A, B, and C grading quality for the aesthetic quality, and then 1 through 5 for the quantity, how big the repair was. So you might get an A3, a B2, just depending on the quality and how big the repair is. Like I said, restoration is something you might want to look into if it's a very rare and highly sought after comic. Even a restored comic of that stature will bring more money than an unrestored one because just it'll look better to the eye. While unrestored comics are preferred, there are times when it's a comic that's just really, really rare and you can only get a restored copy that's worth reading. If you do decide to do that, there is 3 steps to the restoration process. The first step is cleaning, and they remove all the dirt, stains, scotch tape, whatever they had on there, and get it all cleaned up for you. The second is leaf casting. When there's pieces missing out of the page, like big chunks and stuff. With the older comics, they used really low-grade paper and low-grade ink. So, a lot of the older comics, they have chunks or pieces missing out of the paper, almost brittle, like it just kind of disintegrates. Well, leaf casting, they drop it in this liquid medium with some other pulp mixture, and it kind of fills in all those holes. And what you get a page that's actually stronger than the original. Fills in all the holes for you. Makes the page one whole page. Now, the last thing they can do on restoration is color touch. They get in there with some acrylic paint where there's paint missing, and they fill in the areas where it looks like paint has faded off or it's rubbed off. They just make it look a lot better. Not brand new, but they make it look really good compared to how it looks now. So if your comic is in really bad shape, but it's a really rare and sought after comic, you might want to think about restoration. The last one on my list, which you really don't hear a lot about, is the conserved grade. conservation. Conserved is similar to restoration, but it's very much lighter. For conservation, they only take care of like structural problems. They can replace staples. They can seal tears. They don't fix the tears. They seal the tears. They can seal spine splits and things of that nature. Now, if you're looking at getting something conserved, the general rule of thumb is, will it increase the grade? Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. That's one of the things the screening process can tell you with CGC. If it's a generally good copy, but it has one or two, major flaws, rusty staples, something like that, maybe conservation's for you. But beware, if you do get your comic conserved, you'll get the gray bar up above. It'll say CGC conserved grade on the very top there. Take that into account when resale value, because people would rather have a non-conserved or a non-restored book. But like I said, if it's a very rare, highly sought after book, you might want to think about getting it conserved. I hope this video has helped you decide whether you want to get your book pressed, restored, or conserved. Basically, your takeaway from this is pressing will fix minor defects like bends or ripples in the paper, things that are not collar breaking, that haven't really damaged the page, just small defects. Pressing can take care of that for you. Pressing will not show up on any of the CGC labels, so keep that in mind. Restored, if your comic is just thrashed, I mean it's in pieces, big chunks missing out of it, but it's a very highly sought after comic, yeah, you might want to get it restored, and it may or may not raise the grade, but it's certainly not going to make it any lower if it's in really bad shape. Conserved, if you want to go the conservation method, that's just for fixing structural type defects, staples, or sealing tears or splits. That will also reflect on your label just like the restored. But to prevent further damage from that book, it might be worth it for you. If you like this video and you'd like to see more like it, subscribe, man. It don't cost you nothing and it helps us out a lot. You can also like, share, and comment. Those things help us too. And until you see the next video, later, nerds.